All righty. Well, let me thank everyone who has joined us this evening, Thursday at 7 o'clock Eastern. Anyway, if you haven't heard, my name is Dan Demonte. I am the Chief Revenue Officer for the Skip Barber Racing School. Um, Fortunate that my family and I own and operate this business. This is now year 9. We've been in the driving school and educational business for 18 years. And then, in fact, have been racing for 32 years with my brother, who's the CEO, and ultimately in the NASCAR series, one of the many flavors of racing. He wanted to be with us, but he's in Mexico working on a project for the company as we speak. So unfortunately, he wasn't able to join. What we're going to do tonight is something very important. Racing is an amazing, exciting, interesting, uh, can be dangerous sport, physically, economically, and emotionally. And what you'll be able to do tonight is learn from some of the very best that understand this industry, that have amazing backgrounds, that are talented, smart, honest. Let me go back to that word, honest. It's sometimes gets lost in any industry, including the racing industry, because there's so many pretty pennies and so many ways to do this. Again, we're fortunate having done this as a company since 1975, having had our own race series since 1976. So the history of the 400,000 alumni that have gone through one of our programs, and the success. This weekend, I was at the Daytona 500, and of the starting grid, 22 of those people have done some form of training with the Skip Barber Racing School and Series. So that's not just historical, and that's Joseph Newgard, and it's Brian Herter, and it's Colton Herter, and it's Sergio Perez, big one, Formula One, Marco Andretti, Michael Andretti. But it's even today, even the finest drivers in the world seek out our firm because of the expertise we have specific to road racing. What you'll do tonight is you're going to hear from a group of individuals, and I probably will start the program by allowing them to introduce themselves, and then I'll take back the conversation for just a couple minutes, and then we'll move on to what I consider the important people. So that being said, maybe Ryan, you could step up, introduce yourself, and then pass it off to the rest of the team, please.
Sure. Thank you, Dan. My name is Ryan Kish. My title at Skip Barber is the marketing manager. Day to day, I handle the brand's social media pages, our website. Generally speaking, anything with words or pictures that comes from Skip Barber, there's a good chance I had something to do with it. As regards to our race series, I work with all of the drivers in the race series to maintain positive social media profiles. I work with them to create press releases and marketing proposals for themselves. Prior to this, I was a journalist in racing, so I used some of that experience to kind of pose as our own little in-house media journalist, giving questions to the drivers, training them as well as I can to succeed in motorsports off the track. Thankfully, they don't let me do any of the on-track teaching, or else we'd be in big trouble. We leave that up to capable people like James Burke. James, you want to go
ahead? Yeah. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, loud and clear.
So I'm James Burke, president of Skip Barber Racing School and Racing Series. My background and what I've been doing for the past, it's been over 30 years. Started off racing karts at the age of eight years old. We progressed through car racing, some open cockpit, closed wheel cars, much like a Radical. Raced those for many years over in the UK. Moved from there to the US back in 2006 to be part of a racing school. That racing school is now the Ford Performance Racing School. I spent about 19 or 20 years with them. And now I'm with Skip Barber and excited to impart my knowledge to everybody and anybody who's willing to learn. I've had the privilege of working with guys that have been racing for a long time. So I've gone from people that have been, day one for them, and then also, in fact, two current NASCAR Cup drivers I've worked with, and a plethora of GT, IMSA, and SRO drivers that are currently racing now. And that's from a coaching them individually, from racing point of view, driving point of view, but also it takes a mindset, and so that's what I do, and that's what I can bring to the table.
Eric, I think you're up.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. My name is Eric Paradise, and I worked as an executive consultant for the Skip Barber Racing School. I've been involved in motorsports since 1994, so it's about 30 years plus, 32 years already. I'm kind of like the textbook guy that just didn't had the funding to be racing for so long or be in the industry for so long, but just had a passion and a dedication towards the sport. So managed to find sponsorship to all sorts of creative ways, and managed to race Formula Ford's Pro Series in Canada. And then I did a start in Indy Lights at the Liberty Challenge as a support race for Formula One at Indy at the time. I've raced the Nordschleifer on the Nürburgring, the long track with the VLN series, and another series that was called RCN. I've raced dirt modified. I also love the two wheels, so I've been doing a lot of track days on BMW S1000 RR. Motorcycles are great training grounds for drivers, and just was fortunate to make a career out of it by sheer hard work, dedication, and passion. So there is a path, and there are possibilities, and it's just determined by the amount of time and effort that you're ready to dedicate to it. Um, Within the industry, I've basically started my own team, was my own mechanic, found my own sponsorship. I've ran with some teams as well. So I kind of learned the back end of the business. I learned how to prepare race cars. I then moved on to what we call the ride and drive industry, where you actually work as an instructor for automotive manufacturer, whether it is for driving experience, such as the AMG Academy, BMW M Track Days, all sorts of programs, or whether it is working in dealership as a sales facilitator, so training the sales staff on product reveal, product launch, media days. And that kind of led me through an executive position at Circuit of the Americas in 2014. So I arrived there and basically built up the track rental business, the club racing business, the national racing business. So more or less everything that was happening at Circuit of the America was under my responsibility outside of Formula One and MotoGP, which were under the stewardship of the founder of the company, Mr. Epstein. Raced in Europe, also in Hungary in the KTM Expo battle. And recently was working on a project in Tennessee to build a new facility with the architects that have built a lot of the F1 tracks around the world, Tilke. So I've been fortunate that I was able to touch pretty much every aspect of the industry, from driving to owning a team to being a mechanic to selling sponsorship to managing race facilities to actually building one. And it's kind of been through relationship that I had with Skip Barber for many years. They were a client at Cota, and it was just a natural affinity that I could join the team, and my desire was mainly to be able to give back. So there's many people that helped me throughout those 30 years, and if I can provide help, guidance, wisdom, anything that I can do. Many people did so for me, and I'd like to just give back and help any one of you out there that have question, that have a dream, that have a passion, and hopefully keep it well and alive.
Eric, thank you very much for your background. I think guys and gals, you'll hear and see some of the absolute finest individuals who are willing to help. And so we'd love to have you come out and participate in some of the programs at Skip Barber, but it doesn't have to be. We're here to help build this industry and have since 1975. So let me just a couple minutes from me, and then again get to the guys you really want to hear. At Skip Barber, and for me personally, there are 5 tenets. And if we can provide those tenets to an individual or a team or a group, we think we have succeeded. And that means when you're training or when you're done training with us, and that's on track and that's on Sims as well, that as a driver, as a competitor, you are safe, secure, comfortable, confident. And if we do that, and we do on a weekly basis, then we have succeeded in our eyes in this industry. And those components are hard to get specifically in one group, in one space. And so we're fortunate that we have the team to be able to provide those resources. Again, we've been doing this for many years. 400,000 alumni. 55% of all IndyCar drivers, 62% of all NASCAR drivers, most all the people that have come through the Americas that have made it to Formula One. That includes Sergio Perez, Juan Pablo Montoya, Alexander Rossi, Michael Andretti, who people, if you don't know, his father, Mario, was the last U.S. citizen to win a Formula One title. And what I didn't know, Michael shared with me that he was the last U.S. citizen to be on the podium in Formula One. So it's an amazing history, starting with Skip Barber himself, who ran in Formula One in 1971 and 1972 very successfully. When somebody comes out to see us, there's a very specific reason. We are the Skip Barber Racing School. We are by far the most competitive academic institution in this industry. And it's really important that when you leave on a particular time or a particular day from seeing us, that you have more knowledge than when you got there. And you want to go fast and you want to perform and you want to be on the podium. But it's more than this. This is a long game. This is not a sprint. It's not even a marathon. It's a triathlon. And none of this is easy, physically, economically, emotionally. It's very difficult. And we as a family and as colleagues and as peers and as a business love it. Couldn't be happier. Couldn't be happier. I spent last weekend at the Daytona 500 with many of our peers. From there, we went to Virginia International Raceway, where we have a 45,000 square foot facility, our home base, to a beautiful facility and great track. And so this is something we live with on a daily basis. Maybe the one slide, since we're talked a little bit about alumni, Ryan, if you just want to move that to the forefront at this point, and just so we can have a visual on what it means. And success doesn't mean you have to be in Formula One and IndyCar. That means you may become an SRO or an IMSA racer or SCCA or USAC or NASA, or you may become a salesperson, or you may become a tech, or you may become a marketing person, or you may become an instructor, or you may become a track day person. So you can define success in many different levels and many different ways within this industry. Very pleased to be where we are. Very pleased to work with young people again, historically, and today, pointing to if you look at very successful people coming out of the karting industry, Caleb Gaffara, Sebastian Weldon, Oliver Weldon, just 3 examples of young people that went from karting to cars through the very efficient, effective, competitive process, and that's the Skip Barber Racing Series. So all that being said, thank you for being here with us. I'm now going to return the next step to my pal, James Burke.
All right. So I see we have 19 people on the call. So this is pretty cool. So what I want to do is try to help you guys capture the imagination of and making sure that we understand what you're getting yourself into as and when you decide to come and race with us. And so it's not just a racing series, right? And that's where we want to try to get this across, that this is truly a way to be developed as an individual as well. So let me just 1 second here. So the focus is developing drivers from day one, right? So you could be in this for, you may have been raced previously, or this may be year one for you guys. And so what we have to try to do is create a competitive environment that then is married with training. Okay, so what that means, what that looks like is it means that we do have the full right to if any of you have raced before in karting, right, you're pretty much on your own, you're doing your thing, you're then going to the track, you're coming back. This is now we're now together as a group, and what that means is we're now learning together as a group. So what that looks like is, for example, if we've got the pole lap and the fastest guy in the group has set the fastest lap, well, we now can look at that lap together and understand why that driver was as quick as they were, and then try to help develop everybody else along the way, right? And so this is very much hands-on. Now, it does require you to also get the most out of it, right? Our instructors, we are world class, and our job is to pull the very best out of individuals. But the more they communicate, the more they show a willingness, the more you show willingness, the more you can develop as well. So it is a two-way deal. However, our instructors are so good, they're going to pull it out of you anyway, right? It's going to be a lot of one-on-one, a lot of talking, a lot of mind management, how we're going to get to the race start, how we're going to get through a race start. And again, because we are we're in control of the event, it means that we can stop at any point. Everybody in a group, guys, we're not happy with this, or we're happy with this, or this is a new learning experience. The goal here being that whenever you go to another championship, you've got far more tools and an understanding to be, competitive, but also understand the structure of these weekends. So I hope that kind of gives you that understanding of what it is that we're going to be doing. Now, because of these things, and because we want you to learn, right, it's going to be tough at times. If we make a bonehead move, right, more than likely we're going to make an example of you as a group, so that we can again learn together as a group. Now, what we won't do is do group cleanings. Let me explain that. So, for example, if we go off track and we do some bad things, right, we need to really understand what happened and why it happened. Okay, and there will be lots of video. Now, if in most cases, unless you're on your own and you just drive off and you crash and do your thing, that's different. In most cases, there is always an A driver and a B driver, not in experience, but just A and B. And A and B have to share the track. Now, what that means is that you may have this idea, well, that was my corner and I deserve this. Well, what we're going to help you understand is that is not always the case. And majority of the time, it isn't. It takes every driver to share the track and to be a good overall driver. Now, there's times when, incidences happen and we just don't want those things to happen, right? We don't, but it's going to happen. More than likely, you both played a role in something that could have been fixed. The way I can try to describe this is there are personality of drivers, right? There are drivers that get hit, are going to get hit, and avoid. And it's interesting because you'll see these characters evolve in series all over the place. And our job is to help you not be one of the first two. It's being more self-aware and gaining more confidence in yourself as individuals to not worry that you got overtaken. Let's gain the confidence that we need to then understand, okay, I can do better because I'm going to execute better. And so it is a lot about developing you as individuals, helping you overcome ego and replace it with confidence. Replace it with actual layers of confidence rather than an ego that's based on nothing, right? It's artificial. And so these things will come up as we go through. You're not going to get that anywhere else. If anything, you're going to get a penalty and left on your own, right? We have an opportunity to really dissect everything as much as we can. I hope that explains. Ryan, is there anything that I missed that you want to touch upon?
No, I think just if you could add a little bit about off-track excursions and our approach to how we treat going four wheels off and the really strong emphasis we place on clean racing and how we do that. But other than that, I think that's the only bit that I could use a little catch up.
Yeah, could you go over that? I'm still trying to get up on my regulations. I'm new to the championship for this year, and so I haven't read all of my regs on that.
Yeah, so if a driver goes four wheels off the track, they have to come into pit. This is twofold. One, it's to allow our technicians to check the car and ensure that it's still safe to drive. If you go four wheels off, we don't want you breaking a suspension component and then heading off into turn one at high speed with a broken suspension and doing even more damage to the car if it could be avoided. And second, it also serves as a form of penalty. We really want cars to stay on track because if you're on track, you're going to learn. There's nothing you can learn by going off into the gravel pit. So we really take a strong-handed approach to off-track excursions. Sometimes that upsets drivers. They're race car drivers. We get it. Our instructors are race car drivers too. Our race director is a race car driver too. So he doesn't like being on the other end of the penalty. He doesn't like receiving the penalties. He doesn't like handing out the penalties. But we take a really strong approach to making sure everybody stays on track. And if they do go off track, they face a penalty for it.
I love that, right? So it's exactly how it should be. What we're doing is developing drivers to be their best, right? You take like a Coda, for example, you can go four wheels off and get away with it. Not in our series, you can't. So we'll set very clear boundaries. If you have track limits, we're going to get you in the pits. It's what it should be. Formula One back in the day, there was, track limits. You were in a tire wall, game over. So we have to learn how to reach the limit and dance with that car in the boundaries which we've been set. And I love the fact that it's a complete safety point of view too. So, yep, that makes sense to me. And then clean racing, right? We need you guys to understand that. How do I just? Let's say we're in a 25-hour race or a 24-hour race, right? And we're lap 3 into this and two cars could collide, 9 times out of 10, it's avoidable. It's avoidable. And so we really want to push that home, that we want to live to fight the next corner every single time. Put the car in a position where all we do is protect the environment that we could protect. Now, that could be, you could get taken out, which can happen. But overall, it's about putting the car in the correct and controlling its environment as we go forward. So yeah, it's the best training, learning, and developing that you're ever going to get. And it's not just driving development. You will become a better person because of this. And the motorsport field is very varied and it's opened. And by taking by doing this, you're opening yourself up to future success. And so that's yeah. If are we going to do questions at the end? Because if you have any, then I'd love to answer those at the end.
Yeah,
we'll
I
probably
think
do a quick question here.
what we want to do is get into to Eric's section of it. And so what we'll do, take a couple questions, but what I do want to provide is post this program. If you want to get into depth or into the weeds, you'll do that communicating with Ryan Kish, and we can have one-on-one. So don't feel pressured that you either won't hear the information or understand it or retain it. We're going to give everybody the opportunity to get on with us individually just as well.
Yep. At the end of this, the last slide of this presentation has everybody's email, so you can reach out to us, and my email is on the invite as well, so that's another way you can reach out to us. I guess while I'm talking, I'll keep talking. My sort of side of the barn is the marketing and media aspect of it. And I think the best way to explain our approach to marketing and media for the race series and the drivers in the race series is to talk a little bit about myself. I promise it's not as selfish as it sounds. I've been with Skip Barber for about 2.5 years. And before joining the team here, I was a journalist in motorsports for Racer.com and DailySportCar.com, covering sports car racing, a tiny bit of IndyCar and iRacing. I was also a part-time PR rep, helping some small teams in motorsports with their public relations material and their social media. So when I joined Skip Barber and sat down with Dan Monty, and we looked at the approach that we take to the race series and how it's covered, we realized that we needed to go in a different direction than how every other race series is covered. When I was a journalist and we were writing a race report, a race recap, it's basic building blocks. The simplest, most common thing a journalist is going to have to write. We always had a saying. It was a bit like a formula: a squared plus b squared equals c squared. But for us, it was 1, 2, 3. Did anything explode? Who was first? Who was second? Who was third? Whose engine exploded at the back? Whose car is underneath the tire barriers at turn 3? And that's great and all if you're just writing a recap and you just need to tell the quick facts and get the point across. But if you take that approach, you leave out a lot of interesting success stories for drivers who finished 4th or 5th, or maybe the drivers who finished 9th and 10th and got their first top 10 of the year. Or maybe it was the driver who finished 11th and yeah, they just missed out on the top 10 and that's disappointing. But hey, if you actually peel back the timing sheets a little bit, you realize that that driver that finished 11th actually improved their lap time on every lap. And that's an interesting success story that should be highlighted. So when we approach a race weekend, from a social media perspective, every single driver in the series gets at least one. It usually ends up being more, but one dedicated social media post highlighting their successes in the race series. And they get at least one mention in the pre-race and the post-race press release. Again, typically more than one, but highlighting their successes either in the race weekend that just happened or in the season overall. I work really hard to make sure and dig deep to find at least one positive, successful story that a driver can take and promote on their social media pages, go and promote to potential partners and potential sponsors, and that we can promote on Skip Barber's social media pages and the website. Because we are a school, we're a development series, and we want to highlight the successful development and the growth of our drivers. Because if we're not doing that, then what are we doing? doing. A school is only as good as its alumni and the successes that its alumni has. There's a reason that the University of Cal Berkeley has special parking spots for people who have won Nobel Prizes. If you won some Nobel Prize in physics, you get a good parking spot at Cal Berkeley. If you do good at Skip Barber, you're going to be on the Skip Barber alumni report that I write every Monday. So that's the approach that we like to take, is to make sure everybody is promoted, covered, and highlighted, because it's not always going to be like that at further stages up in racing. I think the last bullet point that I didn't touch on was templates to use in reaching out to potential partners and sponsors. So these are customizable, basic templates. It's a slide about Skip Barber, it's a slide about the race series and what kind of racing you're involved in, and how Skip Barber helps promote you and your brand. It's usually a slide about yourself, a little bio about your journey racing, what you've done, what you're doing, what you want to accomplish, what you have accomplished. And then a third slide about how potential partners and sponsors can get involved with you, the benefits they receive by doing so, as well as the benefits they receive by doing so because you are aligned with Skip Barber and the race series, and you're getting those guaranteed social media posts and press release mentions and thumbnail placements and everything that comes with that. So I think the last thing I'll mention is that I try to help our drivers off the track as much as I possibly can to prepare themselves for a career in racing. I like to throw them questionnaires before the race series events. What are you expecting from this event? Because those are the questions that they're going to get when journalists ask them those same questions in the future. So try to set up a professional environment as much as we can, even if journalists may not be knocking down our doors to come interview our drivers. I try to replicate that environment for us and create a situation where they can cut their teeth with that weapon. So with that, I'll pass it over to I think the real star of the show, Eric Paradise.
Let me add one thing quick before we get to Eric. Guys and gals, one thing you can't guarantee your performance. We can't guarantee your capacity to gain sponsorship or support your racing career. What we can guarantee as a team is the visibility you'll have once you're in the race series. If you look at all these famous drivers that we talked about today, and you go to their bio and you go to their resume, every single one will represent Skip Barber being part of their training, not necessarily winning the series, but training and participating in it. And you will absolutely, positively be on the map. You will get calls from other teams, from other series, from other companies, because they know who we are. And so it is valuable because that visibility helps build out the economic motor, if you will, to compete in racing throughout your career. And with that, I do want to turn it over to Mr. Eric Paradise. Unless I have somehow offended him.
Unless you forgot he was muted and is talking.
No, I was on mute. I'm sorry. I was on mute, guys. Yes, sorry about
All
that.
good.
I was just saying, hopefully you guys are excited and there's a lot going in your mind and you have visions about what it could be and how you could do. But so yeah, lots of good information there. And I think essentially is that the first motto of every driver is that if you show up to a starting grid and you think you're not going to be able to win that race, you might as well stay home. So no matter how the odds are against you, you still got to show up with this attitude where everything is possible. There's been these amazing races that you've probably witnessed, like the famous Pass to Win at Laguna Seca, Brian Erta and Alex Zanardi. There's all these great stories out there, and I could not recommend more than just listen to podcasts. Motorsport.com has a podcast, and all the great drivers have been on it, and they share their stories. And the commonality is always a dedication, a will to succeed, dedication, passion, and a willingness to put everything on the line just to go out there and do it. And my feeling and the reason why I'm here is that most first and foremost is if I can help people to avoid the mistake that I've made, and I think James was making great points by saying that you're coming in as a group versus as an individual. So I unfortunately did it as an individual. So I was forced to be my own mechanic. I was forced to be my own team owner. I was forced to do everything by myself. And the learning curve for me was so steep, and it was so difficult to remain competitive against drivers that either had a team environment or had the opportunity to start their career with a program with the Skip Barber Racing Series. Learning as a group, it speeds up the learning curve so dramatically. And as a young driver, you need that. You need to get as many miles as you can get. You need to get as much seat time as you can get. And if you go out there and you're going immediately to pro racing, you're kind of on your own, or you'll be part of a team. Within that team, there are different dynamics. Some are very generous, other drivers might be a little bit more selfish. So it's kind of difficult to learn off each other because, within the mindset that the first competitor that you got to beat is your teammate, being thrown in this environment at an early stage of your career, it's a difficult one. So if you're part of the racing series, you come in as a group, you learn as a group, you maximize your track time, which is something that is so valuable because in pro racing, you're always on a schedule. And if something happens, there are incidents on track. I've seen it over and over, whether it was through racing or whether it was through all my years at COTA, where, for instance, the USF4 race, as a support race for F1, they had a 35-minute race, and within that 35-minute race, they might have done 3 laps under the green, and the rest of their laps were all either under yellow or a red flag. So for a young driver, if you've invested 25, 30, 40, $50,000 on a race weekend to gain experience, to compete, to build your reputation, and you've only managed to do 3 laps under a green flag, the value for the dollar invested is minimal. So at that point, the value for the Skip Barber series is that you're going to get all your sessions. If it's a 20-lap race, you're going to make it 20 laps regardless of what happens because you're not on a time schedule. You're not forced out of the track because other race series has to get on board, or you've lost some track time because the series before you got late and the promoters needed to either fix the track or clean up the track. So there's so many benefits for you to join in as a group because you could learn, you can compare data, you can work with multiple instructors. When you're on your own, I just didn't have that luxury. I had no one to coach me. I had no one to help me. I had no one to help me read the data. I had no one to compare my data with. So altogether, you have to do it on your own, and you have to figure it out on your own, and it becomes much more difficult to do it in that fashion versus being part of a system that allows you to grow as a driver much more rapidly, that allows you to get quality of seat time, that allows you to get better feedback and more feedback from different perspectives. So each instructors, they also have their own experience, and it's just like anything in life. There's some people with whom you're going to have better affinity, and some people that are going to understand you a little bit better. So they'll just have the right word for you to really understand how can you maximize or gain a little bit more performance just by the interaction that you have. But if you're in pro racing, all of those are kind of like taken away. And it's either you have the resources like the ultra wealthy, where they'll just hire private coaches for everything you can imagine, from nutrition to working out to psychology to racecraft, and that becomes very, very expensive to go down that road. So a full season or 2 season within the Skip Barber environment is a way for you to accelerate your learning, to maximize the seat time that you're going to get, to learn as a group, to work as a group, and to basically maximize your chances of success. And that might be also inspiring for a lot of you guys, but within that system, so many instructors have made a career because they've met people within the group. um, just an example, like recently, I remember like Colin Brown basically met this oil billionaire from Texas, Tracy Crown. Tracy went to a training system. Colin was an instructor. They kind of like bonded together, and Tracy decided that he wanted to go racing. So he started in IMSA, then wanted to go WEC. So basically, Colin raced LMP2s, LMP3s, GT3s, and had an amazing career. But it was because he was in the environment. And if you're not there, then these connections don't happen. They'll happen, but they'll happen with those that are in the environment. So when you're on your own and you're out there and you're trying to compete, you're kind of like trying to get everything done by yourself and by the people that are around you and by the network to which you have access. But once you're part of the group, I would say that the group itself becomes somewhat of a larger pool of opportunities because you will meet different people. You have an opportunity to grow as a driver. You have an opportunity to migrate and to start learning as how to become an instructor and help others. You can keep on driving, keep on competing, but also you learn a whole lot by instructing. So, but first and foremost, you got to be in the environment, and this is really the key decision at any point of your career or how you want to approach motorsport is this a hobby? Am I doing this for fun? Or do I want to make a living out of it? And there's no right or wrong answers, but it will certainly help you determine the path that you want to take. And if you want to become a professional, and if you have unlimited resources, then there's many paths that are open in front of you. And the more limited your resources are, the more limited the paths are. And then you got to be strategic on how, on which paths do you decide to venture in order to maximize the possibilities and the outcome. It again depends on you, like if this is something that you want to dedicate your life to, or is this something that you want to do for the next 5 years, and depending on if you're successful or not, and if your mood is in it or not. But I would say that the best tool that you can have is an honest approach with your desire, your passion, your feelings, and how, how do you want to live the motorsport experience per se. And so I would say, um, you know, I I'm part of the group because, as I said, I'm trying to give back, and the way to give back is to guide people in the right direction. And the race series, that's what it has to offer. So it's not just kind of like a one-on-one, but more so as a group with a group of people that are all experts in their field, that all have different levels of experience, knowledge that they can share with you so that you can have all the necessary tools to be successful yourself. And sometimes it might just be that it's going to be hard. You might feel like quitting, and then there might be an instructor or myself or anyone else out there to say, hey, I've been through this, and don't give up. Like you'll make it work, and sometimes it's hard, but altogether, anything is possible as long as you're ready to put in the time, effort, and dedication. And like beyond that, there's not much more else that I could say. Like it's an amazing sport. It's an amazing discipline. You'll learn great things. Like everything that you're going to learn in the series, you can apply. Like I've known also drivers that after a while quitted, and then all the stuff that they learned, they started a business and they were successful. So you'll learn a whole lot of things. It's like going through college. but in a different way where the skills and the things that you're going to learn are certainly going to help you for the rest of your life.
So I think let me stop there for a second. Eric, thank you. What you'll learn with Eric Paradise is he says what he means and means what he says, and he's very direct and very insightful. And you're fortunate to be around him as well as the other team members. Ryan or James, did you want to add anything to into the discussion before I give people an opportunity to ask some questions since we have some time?
No, I think I'm good.
Yep,
James?
I'm good. I'm happy to answer questions for sure.
Okay, so what we'll do now is we have some time left in the, I'll call this a seminar. So if somebody would like to ask a question, Ryan, you can manage so people are not talking at the same time. But if you have questions, please go ahead and ask the question to anybody on the call that will provide you an answer.
Mark, yeah, go ahead. Raise your hand.
Yeah, well, first thing I wanted to say is that I really do love the photo on the previous slide.
That one looked familiar.
It does look a little familiar. So for those of us who are, let's say, trying to train for these races, let's like first with sim stuff, is there any possible way to get the exact specifications of the car so we can more accurately simulate what, like for instance, our braking points are going to be, our shifting points, that kind of a thing? Because I just recently have upgraded my rig and in preparation to race the series. I'm just wondering if we could get something like that.
Yeah, in iRacing, the closest example we have to our car is, I think they just call it the FIA Formula 4. The only difference between that car and the simulator and our cars is just one generation difference. But that is typically the go-to car when we need to replicate what we've got with the MyGals. The iRacing one, just FIA Formula 4. It's unbranded car, so sort of a generic model. But that's the closest one to what we have with the MyGals.
Okay, so you don't suggest me going with the Racing Studio Formula 4 Gen 1 and trying to match the specifications from that one for the series?
That I'd have to check up on because I don't know exactly the details and the specs of that car because we spend most of our time on iRacing for our training. But let me run it past the engineers and the sim guys who will know better than me, and they'll take a look at it and see how close it will match up to what we have.
Okay.
Let me jump in on that too. So, you know, other software out there can do just as good as iRacing. The problem is we just don't know enough about the software, right? So, a set of Corsa, somebody could build a car and it could be spot on, and then an next guy builds a car and it's not. So your safest bet is to be the one that's the most consistent, and that's where iRacing for me personally and also professionally, it's no one's in their basement creating a version of that F4 car. It is the F4 car, right? And so that's the easiest way to that's what I would suggest.
Okay.
I'd make just one little additional comment, and this is just an opinion, so don't take it for cash. But from my perspective, I would just say that even that's what I was sharing with the team is that the performance difference between a Gen 1 and a Gen 2 is less than 2%. Like it's somewhere around 1.5, and maybe somewhat even because the car's a little bit heavier because of the halo. So I would say that the driving dynamics are very, very close, if not the same. Where you'll have a difference is that the Gen 2 cars are just a little bit safer because of the halo. So I would say for training purposes, the benefit of having a Gen 2 is just having the visual perspective of being used at driving with a car with a halo. So that might be something that for some driver, it takes a bit of time to get used to, versus the conventional one when there's no halo and you have a clear 180-degree peripheral vision, versus now you have this halo that's kind of like changing the perspective visually. So my opinion would be, if you feel that you're going to gain a little bit more and you'll be immediately more comfortable the minute that you jump into an open wheel car that has a halo, then you would have a bit of a benefit by using a Gen 2 car on the sim. Otherwise, I would be highly, highly surprised that the difference between the sim versus, let's say, Gen 1, Gen 2 versus from the sim to the track is probably somewhat identical or very, very close. So that's just my opinion. So
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Does that answer the question?
I mean, I'll what I'll do is I mean, obviously,
So
if
can I
if Ryan can get the information about specifically the Racing Studio car, but for now I'll go ahead and use the iRacing car until I get any information.
yeah,
Otherwise.
and then to answer that question also from a, you know, braking and shifting and those kinds of things, it's going to be very challenging to say, okay, I'm going to brake at the sim at the 100 feet board, and then replicate that in real life, right? It's just going to be a little different. So you want to use iRacing as a tool to find and get to the limit, because that process will be the same, right? So, for example, if we're starting at the 300, 300 feet board, and then we start progressively moving it forward until we get to a limit, that's going to be more beneficial to you than trying to match exactly what iRacing or any sim is doing, right? It's more about the process of getting to the limit rather than trying to replicate it. Does that make sense?
No, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Okay. And then, like, the shifting, right? You have to shift when you shift. Like, I don't know what to tell you. So you're going to shift when the car says, I got no more revs left. So you're going to go ahead and shift. So, yeah. So use it, make sure we're using it in the right way, and not trying to replicate and repeat. Yeah.
Right. Find a range.
Yes.
so more or less, it's kind of like building memory muscle.
Yes.
Perfect. Daniel Rodriguez, go ahead.
Hello. Hi.
Yep, we got you.
Can you hear me? Okay, okay. First, I want to say thank you guys for your time today. It's been a pleasure hearing from you. So I've been looking at the school options for the GT Academy. I know that's the one with the Mustang. I guess what I'm a little bit confused about. I know that there's the option for the 3-day school, which is, I guess, the regular one, and there's also the option for the 2-day advanced. To be honest, I'm more interested in the advanced course, but I know that requires a certain amount of track experience. I've just recently done my first track day. I'm just curious about, I guess, what kind of experience is expected to be able to participate in that advanced program.
Ryan, do you want me to take that?
Yeah, you can go ahead, and if you miss anything, I'll come circle back. But yeah.
So what's really important here, guys and gals, is the baseline. And the key to what we do here is preparation. And so going from the 3-day, and there is an exception, there is dispensation. If you have certain levels of training and you have a bio and a resume and you provide that to us, we'll go to the instructor group, ultimately to James, and say, do you think this person is going to be comfortable and safe? You have to be safe. It's not just you, it's other people. And in which case, then, of course, we could move in that direction. But the basis, starting whether have no experience or lots of experience, if you are Sebastian Oliver Weldon, both with great karting careers, started very much in the beginning, in the first day of the 3-day, and then the next day, and then the third day, and then heading into. And I realize there are factors here. There are economics, there are timing, but you cannot lose by practicing, by preparing, by going through the 3-day versus going into the ADV2. Where you can lose if you're not prepared, you will not gain the benefits, you will not gain the knowledge, you will not gain the intrinsic value of that 2-day program if you are not prepared. So what you can do is, if that's your goal, is put together a bio and a resume, share it with Ryan Kish, and he will bring it to James and the team. But don't short circuit yourself. Back to this is a triathlon. There's a lot of work here, and just the concept of spending time on the skid pad or the autocross is huge. Did I answer your question?
Right. No. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, of course, because I mean, for me, it's honestly, it's a bit more of a financial reason, right? So,
Sure.
it's obviously it. If I had, all the money ever, of course, I want to go through every single program that I possibly could. I'm trying to be conscious of not only the experience that I want to gain, but the amount of my own money that I can put into it at the moment. So that's kind of why I wanted to know. But yeah, no, I fully understand. I mean, I have plans to hopefully do more track days myself. I feel like I learned so much just on my first one. Um, but yeah, no, I mean, I hope to be able to do more soon, and then eventually be able to attend that program.
So as it stands right now, you've done 4 track days?
No, sorry, I've done one at the moment.
Yeah, so I would say off the top of my head, I would do the 3-day. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think you'll be overwhelmed pretty quick. Unless unless things went amazingly well, I think you don't want to shortcut this.
No, of course.
There's no magic button.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, we're going to give you exactly what it is that you need. We are very unique in how we're developing everybody. And so, even on the advanced stuff, right? A lot of it is going to be repetition to gain more muscle memory to become better at it, right? There's no substitution for track time. So, you might hear the same thing on an advanced day as you would on day one, right? You're going to hear some similar things, little similar adjustments as we go along. But yeah, I would, in your mind, I would try to go, okay, I'm going to go the 3-day.
Okay. No, thank you for that.
Pleasure.
And I apologize in advance if I mispronounce this, but Khadijah?
Hi, yes, that was perfect. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thanks all of you for having this seminar. It's very helpful. I am the mother of a 12-year-old go-karter. So I was just wondering your age minimums for your programs.
So what we're able to do, since we are the operator of the vehicles, of the tracks, of the entire series, we have the capacity typically to start training at 12 years old. And so from there, if there's a process where the training cycle has been met, then we can move towards the series. But typically training is 12. There's a real nice space for us at Skip between 12 and 14. Most of the USFs and the FRs, and you need to be 14 and a half or so to get involved. So, but we're going to be very careful in looking at the young person and where they came from. We'll look at their background, what they did, and how they succeed. We want to make sure everyone is comfortable. So 12 is an appropriate age to visit with the Skip Barber Racing School.
Okay, thank you.
I don't see any other hands raised. Going once.
All righty.
Going twice.
If
Jake.
Jake.
Jake C back at the buzzer. Go ahead, Jake.
Let's go, Jake.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Here, let me put this
all
on
good.
just so everybody can laugh. First and foremost, thank you all very much for inviting me to this. This has been truly very eye-opening and very encouraging. However, why did I get invited?
Well, I think probably because you'd somehow filled out the interest form.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I just didn't know if that was what it was or whatnot.
Yeah.
The other question that I have, and I mean, I'm sure this is in the literature that I did not read. I'm sorry, but this sounds really expensive.
Racing is in general a very, very
Absolutely.
expensive venture. It is not inexpensive to come out to see us. It is an
No.
efficient way for you to deploy capital and get a return on that capital, as Eric had disclosed, when it comes to training, when it comes to knowledge, when it comes to technology, when it comes down to a shared experience. And
100%
yes,
agree.
That's
100% agree.
It is what it is. A one-day program at the Skip Barber Racing School to start per person per day averages around $3,500, and things go up from there. So you have to be prepared. If everyone's got a budget. People come to me and they've got a budget of $1,000, and people have a budget, quite frankly, of $1 million. And for that $1,000, we put somebody in a sim program, quite frankly.
Okay.
And so there's always a way and a place to do these things. So I think the two things that I suggest when people talk to us and they're serious is have a budget, have a plan, and stick to it. That's it. And don't deviate, don't go backwards, don't go sideways, and then understand what you want to accomplish in that 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18-month period. And we can help with that. And it may be that you don't come out to see us, but we can provide you insight color that will help direct you to where you may want to go.
Well, I was hoping, and this may still be in the works, and I'm just maybe not thinking that far ahead, but I was hoping that I would also receive some sort of information about how I could approach sponsorships other than GoFundMe for the old fart.
Yeah, I think fortunately what you'll be able to do is Ryan will share some information and what it is and what it takes. It's the sponsorship is no less daunting than the performance side, but it absolutely positively can be done. It's a lot of work. I do it every day myself for the organization, and we as a group with myself and Ryan, the team, we have over 25 partners and sponsors, but it's a lot of work. It's a full-time position.
Yeah, that's something that I've been dying. I've met several of your instructors at VIR. I go every year for the GT America race or GT World, whichever one, in July. I've been dying to get in there and do a 3-day. I've got a ridiculous full motion racing sim. I'm just ate up with it. Unfortunately, I'm not ate up with the rich bone. So I can barely afford to pay attention. And I really would love to find a way to be able to get enough money together to get this together and see if I really can do this.
The good news is it's possible, and it is difficult. I think you'll have some resources that you can garner and gather from us. And then the power of the internet and AI, and also will give you a lot of other direction these days from a technology standpoint. So if you put time into it, I think you can probably find your way.
All right. That sounds good. Thank you very much for answering my question.
Absolutely. So the thing I'm going to leave everybody with, if you have questions after this, please funnel them through Ryan Kish, because it could be for any of the members, but he'll be able to distribute that information, that request. If you want to get on individually with us, we can do that just as well. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for having interest in our industry. Thank you for considering us at some point today or in the future. And I hope you have a great night and an even better weekend.
Thank you, everyone. I put my email in the chat in case you ever needed it. But Ryan.Kish at Skip Barber, and it's on the invite in case you lose that. Thank you all.